UNICEF told our Christian Amanpour that over 40 children per day have been killed in Gaza for more than a year during this war and the Israeli airstrikes. This comes as the U.S. is putting pressure on its ally, demanding Israel improve the humanitarian conditions in Gaza if they want military aid. With me now is Dr. Feroze Sidhwa, the trauma surgeon who worked in Gaza from March 25th to April 8th of this year. You penned an article in the New York Times titled 65 Doctors and Nurses, What We Saw in Gaza. You worked with the New York Times, gathered the folks that had been there, the doctors that had been there, and nurses that had been there. First to you, what did you witness in those couple of weeks that you were, I think, in Khan Yunis in a hospital?
Correct, yeah. I was at European Hospital on the southeastern edge of Khan Yunis. When I was there, that was probably the best resourced city block in the entire Gaza Strip, and it was still an absolute and total disaster. While I was there, on average, I saw one kid shot in the head every single day. Every day we had mass casualty events mostly from bomb blasts. The hospital was completely overwhelmed. There were 10 to 15,000 people sheltering on the grounds of the hospital itself and even within the hospital. So when you're moving a gurney through the hospital, there's tents on both sides of the hallway. You're trying not to run a little kid's fingers over. The hospital had inconsistent water, inconsistent electricity. The only supplies we had were what we brought in with us. And it was a 220-bed hospital with 1,500 people admitted to it, half of whom are severely injured children. So it was a very, very difficult situation.
You talk about children particularly in this article, and I think the very first graph that is there, when you looked at and talked to 65 doctors and nurses along with the New York Times who are on the ground, in the first graph it says 44 of the 65 doctors and nurses and paramedics saw multiple cases of preteen children who had been shot in the head. Are you and these other doctors and nurses saying that children were specifically and purposely targeted by the Israeli military?
So it's important to remember, we're not war crimes investigators or something like that. We're sitting in the hospital and then these kids come to us. We ask their families what happened, of course, and they would say that they were shot by the Israelis, but it's very hard to infer intentionality from our data in this case or that case or that case. That's not what anybody should take from this. What they should take from it is the overall pattern. How can it possibly be that in the catchment area of every hospital in the Gaza Strip for an entire year, internationals have seen children shot in the head on a regular, if not, like in my case, a daily basis? It's hard to believe that that's not intentional on the part of the people doing the shooting.
I do want to let you hear what the IDF said in this case. A spokesperson for the IDF that we talked to responded with a statement. He did not directly answer whether or not the military had investigated reports of shootings of preteen children or if any disciplinary action had been meted out. But in part, the statement says this: the IDF is committed to mitigating civilian harm during operational activity. In that spirit, the IDF makes great efforts to estimate and consider potential civilian collateral damage in its strikes. The IDF is fully committed to respecting all applicable international legal obligations, including the law of armed conflict. You talked about taking pictures. And you did take some, and we've been looking at some of those pictures from your experience there, where you say that you didn't even have soap sometimes to wash your hands in this devastating situation. There is also another picture that was published. It's one of the first things you see. Is very disturbing. And here is that picture. It shows 3 children. I think it's a CT scan. I am no doctor, but I think that's a CT scan there. And it shows several children, 3 of them, where you can actually see the bullets in their skulls or down that have gone from their skulls to their neck. And it's breathtakingly awful, but there is controversy over this. There were people that came out and said these were lies, that this was fake. The New York Times has responded saying it's too graphic to publish the actual pictures that went with this. What is your take on why this controversy erupted? Because those pictures are so stark.
Yeah, I think the controversy is precisely because the pictures are so stark. I just want to be very clear about this. I'm a trauma surgeon. I see about 10 CT scans per day. I work in Stockton, California. I see plenty of people who are shot in the head. It's part of my daily work. There is absolutely no reason to doubt the authenticity of these pictures at all. Any doctor who says they are is either not a doctor or is lying to you. And I just want to be very clear about that. I've seen the CT scan itself. What you're seeing is a CT scout image, which is like a 2-dimensional picture so that you can set up how high the CT scanner is going to go and how low it's going to go. I have the full video of the CT scan, in particular of that child that Dr. Said took. And I also have a picture of her forehead Her eyes are closed, she has a breathing tube in, and there's a bullet wound right where you would expect it to be based on the scan. The claim that these photographs are faked is just, it's beyond ludicrous.
Lastly, I just want to ask you how you are doing after witnessing such horror in Gaza.
I'm fine. I wouldn't make it about me. I would focus on the fact that the Palestinian healthcare workers there are targets of the Israeli military. The Ministry of Health put out a statement that almost 1,000 identifiable healthcare workers have been killed in Gaza. That's 1 out of every 20 healthcare workers in the Gaza Strip. So it's devastating. A lot more have been taken, tormented, tortured, starved. Their own families have been killed. They're all displaced. They're all homeless. And yet they go to work every day and they're not even being paid for it. So I think that's admirable, but everybody has a limit, and we need to stop what's going on before that limit is passed, and there's no hope after that.
Dr. Sidhwa, thank you so much for bringing your story to us and explaining all of this and what's going on there in Gaza from the perspective of a trauma surgeon. We appreciate it. We'll be right back.